They tried to bring it back to life again and again, but every attempt failed to capture the twisted brilliance of Death Note except one, a version you've probably never even heard of. Forget what you saw on Netflix, because almost a decade ago, Japan quietly released a version of Death Note that didn't just work, it understood. While most adaptations tried to reimagine the story, this one stayed dangerously close to the heart of what made Death Note a global obsession. It didn't need big explosions or Hollywood budgets. What it had was far more powerful accuracy, restraint, and a deep understanding of the character's darkness. It was 2015, nearly a decade after the anime had cemented its legacy. A Japanese drama adaptation aired on television. 11 episodes, no fillers, just a sharp, focused retelling of Tsugumi Oba's mind-bending masterpiece. The story starts as it always does. A college student named Light stumbles upon a black notebook, the Death Note, a book that can end lives with a single name. That chilling premise remained untouched, but the execution? That's where things got fascinating. Masataka Kubota stepped into Light's shoes, but this wasn't the cold, near-supernatural genius we remembered. This Light was more grounded, flawed, sympathetic, less calculating, more conflicted. And it worked. He wasn't a copy of the manga version, he was his own monster in the making. But it was Kento Yamazaki who truly stole the spotlight. Fans of Alice in Borderland will recognize him. Here, he transformed into L so effortlessly, it felt like he had walked right out of the manga panels. The posture, the eyes, the voice. It wasn't cosplay, it was resurrection. Even the infamous Ryuk, the god of death himself, was recreated with CGI that still holds up nearly 10 years later. No budget bloat, no unnecessary redesign. Just a menacing, towering presence lurking behind Light, whispering chaos into his ear. The drama made bold character choices too. Instead of keeping Nier and Mello as two separate figures, the series merged them into a single mind fractured by dual identities. It could have been a disaster, but it added complexity, depth, psychological unpredictability that somehow enhanced the original. L was also different. Not the jittery, sugar-obsessed loner we knew. This L was calm, cool, more of a silent assassin than an awkward genius. And the show leaned into that contrast, creating tension without ever needing to shout. And then came the ending, and it was brutal. Mikami, one of Light's devoted followers, traps everyone in a warehouse filled with flammable liquid. In one final act of twisted loyalty, he sets it ablaze. Light goes up in flames, literally. Still alive, still delusional, crawling on his knees toward the burning Death Note, believing his god-complex plan isn't over yet. It's not just heartbreaking, it's horrifying. He screams, he burns, and yet, he believes. That moment alone, it captured more about Light Yagami than any adaptation ever had. Now contrast that with what Netflix gave us. Light Turner, not Yagami, isn't cold. He's just confused. He doesn't feel like a mastermind. He feels like a teenager who watched one too many crime documentaries. The supposed genius behind the original became a clumsy, emotionally reactive character who couldn't strategize his way out of a cardboard box. The only thing Netflix got close to right was casting Willem Dafoe as Ryuk. His voice dripped with menace. His presence was undeniable, but even that was wasted. He barely appears. Blink and he's gone. And without Ryuk's consistent chaos, the whole narrative felt hollow. Lakeith Stanfield's version of L had potential, but instead of tapping into his brilliance, they buried him under erratic behavior and awkward pacing. It felt more like a fan film than a real adaptation. Netflix didn't reinterpret Death Note. They diluted it. They took the bones of something iconic and dressed it up like a teen thriller, stripping away everything that made the story dangerous, thrilling, and deeply uncomfortable. And now, another attempt looms. In 2023, the Duffer Brothers, yes, the creators of Stranger Things, announced they were taking a swing at Death Note, with Halia Abdul-Megwid on board as lead writer, a self-proclaimed fan who once lived in Tokyo and speaks Japanese. There's at least a shred of hope. She gets the culture. She knows the source material. But fans aren't holding their breath, because we've been here before. Every time someone tries to reimagine Death Note, it loses something. The subtle terror, the psychological unraveling, the battle of minds between two boys pretending to be gods. The truth is, the 2015 Japanese miniseries didn't have to reinvent anything. It simply respected what already existed. The characters weren't perfect copies, they were tributes. And every change served a purpose. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud, but it was honest. And in a world full of failed live-action anime experiments, that honesty made all the difference. So while the rest of the world waits to see what the Duffer Brothers will do, maybe the best version of Death Note has already come and gone. Quiet, precise, devastating. And if you missed it, maybe it's time to go back. Light the match. Open